Hey everyone, thanks so much for tuning in. So the Zero Tolerance 0393, another one of the new releases for 2018, and this is the production version of the ever popular Zero Tolerance 0392. So I have a few of those we'll take a look at as we go through, but this is from knife maker slash custom knife maker slash designer Rick Hinder, based on his model, the Eclipse. And this was certainly at the, request or demand of enthusiasts and zero tolerance customers who said, hey, we love the 0392, please make a production version, make it less expensive, and that's exactly what they did. So I think this was a pretty pleasant surprise to a lot of people who weren't sure if they would do it, but they did. So anyways, we'll go through specs, overall impressions, and details as always. Let me show you guys, I guess, the lineup here real quick before we jump into it. And this one's a little bit dirty. I've actually been carrying and using it for a couple days. So here's the original 0392, the 0393. Here's the 0392 purple BLK purple, one of those. And then the 0392 blue Bowie. So I think this represents all the blade shapes that they did. They had this blade shape in a couple different configurations. In the 0392 line, I think there were 7 or 8 different configurations. I've only got 3 here, but there were 7 or 8 total. And it's kind of interesting, at the time that they were making them and they kept coming out with new releases of the 0392, people are saying, hey, you're making too many, you're doing too many runs, you're milking the design, blah, 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 blah. And then after they stopped making them, they're not as easy to come by these days. And if you have one in good condition, or you're trying to buy one in good condition, you're not going to be paying the $400 that they were initially. You're going to be paying more for them. In fact, this series of knives is the one that I get hit up to sell the most. And I don't want to let any go. I actually sold this one and then rebought it. So anyways, don't want to go on for too long here, but here's the full lineup. So we'll move the 0392s out of the way and bring a couple others in for a size comparison. So as always, the Paramilitary 2, and then we'll do the Chris Reeve large Sabenza 21, the Blade HQ exclusive. And let's jump into the specs here. So we have a blade length of 3.5 inches, handle length 4.75, giving us an overall of 8.25 thereabout. And it does weigh in at 5 ounces, or pretty close to it depending on your scale. Now, I guess we'll go through it a little bit more, but we've got CPM 20 CV, which is great steel, US based steel. Some of the differences are going to be, of course, we've got G10 overlays over the titanium frame lock, essentially. Pocket clip is left and right hand tip up carry. We've got the filler tab, Torx hardware throughout. And this thing is compatible with actual Hinder hardware. So anyways, let's move this stuff out of the way. And as I mentioned, this is a full production run, and so there we go. Alright, so overall impressions. This one's kind of hard for me because it was coming up against what I would probably consider my favorite production knife, or at least my favorite production series, the 0392. I wasn't sure if it was really going to feel the same, if it was going to, capture kind of the essence of the 0392, which to me is, just a amazing ergonomic design, incredible action, really nice materials. And this thing and the other ones just feel absolutely bulletproof. Like, I feel like this is just going to last me forever. It's never going to let me down or never disappoint. That's probably my favorite thing about this knife. So, when I got this one, I just wasn't sure how I was going to feel about it. But in reality, it feels, like 95% of the original. Obviously, there's some differences, but, they were done in such a way that It feels kind of like a slimmer, tighter, lighter version of of the 0392 essentially. So yeah, it's 95% of the way there. I think it's excellent. I love that they did a production version. I love that they were able to come down on price from the original, and it's a home run. Another very comparable, especially in the price point, is also from Hinder, but that's the 0562 CF. Also M390 or 204P. This one has carbon fiber. A lot of similarities in terms of kind of the materials and so forth, but and they both have their pluses and minuses, but ergonomics are better on the 0393. And this is certainly one of my favorite production knives. These two are now, I don't know, certainly the top 5 of my favorite production knives for, non-limited edition. All right, so let's take a look at it in a little more detail here, and then we'll go head to head with the original. So we've got the Sponto grind. The blade stock is coming in at 0.156. But it certainly feels thinner behind the edge than the original, and we'll measure in a minute. But we've got the two-tone blade. They DLC'd the flats. Then we've got satin here on the swedge and the primary bevels and so forth. Jimping, it's kind of angled here, so again, it's very comfortable, very purpose-built. The flipper tab works very, very well, even though it's kind of weird that the jimping is on the back side when your finger's on the front. Anyways, it works. It's a very easy to use flipper. Action is really nice, and the way the detent is set up, you can actually use the blade stops as thumb studs, even though they are specifically blade stops, not thumb studs. So they were able to optimize the detent for both. So that is pretty cool. Alright, so I think that's it for the blade. This one, secondary bevel, perfectly clean. Here's the markings, serial numbers, materials, so forth, normal stuff. But yeah, it came razor sharp, very clean grinding, looks really good. Now the handles is kind of one of the predominant features that differs from the original. Obviously we're going just from full titanium on any of the versions here to a version with titanium with a G10 overlay. And one thing I want to point out is kind of the thickness in materials here. So as you guys can see, look at the thickness of the titanium here on the 0392 versus the 0393. And I'm guessing that's probably one of the ways they were able to get the cost down quite a bit, going from 400 to 240. Another way they saved a lot of cost was actually this Hinder hardware. This stuff is not cheap. I think a full set is like 120. Someone can correct me if I'm wrong, but this is all Hinder hardware. ZT ordered or bought it from Rick Hinder and installed it on all the knives, and so you can go out and you can upgrade the hardware on this one if you want. Another person who makes knife videos, Dr. Franke, he already installed a bunch of hardware on his knife to upgrade it. I think he spent like 65 or 70 bucks or something. So anyways, it's possible. You can do that. And if you want to try to get it closer to the original, I suppose, but then you're just increasing price for no functional benefit, but that's okay. I've done that a lot, and more power to you if you want to upgrade it. So anyways, the thinner titanium has been kind of remedied with this G10 overlay. So in the hand, you can see we've got these cutouts here, these chamfering to make it super comfortable in the hand. And essentially these G10 overlays kind of give it that more of a contoured feel in the hand. And so they make it very comfortable as well. But again, without, thicker titanium and without extra machining the titanium that saves time, machine time, and cost. So if someone at some point is going to have carbon fiber, they're going to have different color G10 overlays. Someone's going to do it, so you'll just have to figure out who and order some if you want some. So pocket clip, obviously the Hinder one is a bit nicer. The gap's a bit different. The upsweep on the pocket clip is a little bit more exaggerated, but I found this one works just fine, even in jeans, so no qualms. And again, you can upgrade it if you want, but it works well, and obviously it keeps the price down quite a bit. Alright, now on the lock side here, as you guys can see, it's got kind of this hex bolt that's captured by the G10, so that thing doesn't come loose. It basically keeps it stationary as you unscrew or rescrew the knife. So that's, again, one difference. This one has the standard hinder hardware on the lock side, so that one can spin if you don't clamp it down. So anyways, other than that, we've got kind of the jimping here, which again follows the original. Not sure if the standoffs here are compatible or not. Again, it's based on the Rick Hinder Eclipse, so you'll just have to go to Rick Hinder's website to see which hardware is compatible for this one, or check the forums, other things like that. So, but yeah, again, incredible knife. This one feels like 95% of the original, so I think it's well done. Really happy with it. Let's take a look at the thickness behind the edge, because this does feel quite a bit thinner real quick. Okay, calipers. .032, right about there. Let's take a look at this one, right behind the edge. Whoa, slipped. Yeah, 0.028, 0.27, somewhere around there. For some reason I keep sliding off it. So it is thinner behind the edge, and then the blade stock, pretty sure it's thinner as well. So this one's actually a little bit better slicer than the original. 0.156. No, 0.155. Okay, so it just looks thinner, but they're actually pretty comparable here. So yeah, very cool. Very cool. Anyways, I just think it's awesome they took, the feedback, and, they made a production run for people who had been asking for it, and they brought the price down and figured out a way to do that. So, really like it. Been carrying it. Love it. It's just well done. So, anyways, comments or questions, let me know. Up at this point, there's a lot of other videos out there if you want to find more information on it, but I'm really enjoying this one. So well done, ZT. Well done, Hinder, on just yet another successful collaboration that will no doubt be a very excellent seller. So thanks for watching, guys. If you liked the video, give me a thumbs up, and you can also follow me on Instagram as EpicSnuggleBunny. See ya.